Beloved friends, there is a confidence that is loud, and there is a confidence that is quiet. There is a confidence that demands attention, and there is a confidence that commands results without asking permission. The world has confused bravado with belief, noise with knowing, and arrogance with assurance. But true confidence is never borrowed, never pretended, and never forced. It is earned. It is grown. It is established in the invisible before it is revealed in the visible. Earned confidence is not born of wishful thinking. It does not arise from repeating words while secretly doubting their truth. It is the natural outcome of alignment with principle. A person understands the law and moves in harmony with it. Confidence becomes inevitable. It is not something one tries to feel. It is something one cannot help but embody. Many people attempt to feel confident by changing their posture, their voice, their appearance, yet they neglect the inner cause. They attempt to reap without sowing, but the universe is exact and just. It does not reward pretense, it responds to preparedness. Confidence appears when the soul knows it is supported by understanding, obedience, and right action. Earned confidence comes when fear has been replaced by familiarity with the law. Fear exists only where there is ignorance of truth. A person who knows that supply is governed by an unfailing principle does not panic at lack. A person who understands that harmony is the natural order of life does not tremble before conflict. Knowledge dissolves fear, and where fear dissolves, confidence quietly takes its place. This confidence is not boastful, for it has no need to prove itself. It knows, it stands. It waits without anxiety and acts without hesitation. It is calm because it trusts the process. It is steady because it rests on law, not circumstance. Circumstances change, opinions fluctuate, but principle remains eternal and unshaken. Earned confidence is built through faithful practice. Each time you act in alignment with truth rather than impulse, you strengthen it. Each time you choose faith over fear, discipline over doubt, integrity over convenience, confidence grows roots. It becomes part of your spiritual structure. You no longer ask, "Will this work for me?" because you have seen it work again and again. The soul remembers its victories. When you have stood still in the face of fear and watched the way open, you are never the same again. When you have spoken the word in faith and seen confusion dissolve, you carry that knowing forward. Confidence is the memory of truth proven. It is faith that has evidence. There is a great difference between hoping and knowing. Hope looks outward for signs. Knowing looks inward for assurance. Earned confidence does not rush the outcome, for it understands timing. It does not argue with delay, for it knows preparation is taking place. It understands that when the inner work is complete, the outer manifestation must follow. Many are impatient for results and lose confidence when they do not appear immediately. But confidence is not shaken by time. It knows that the seed planted in right consciousness must germinate unseen before it appears. A person who understands this does not dig up the seed to check its progress. They trust the law of growth. Earned confidence also requires surrender. Not surrender to weakness, but surrender to wisdom greater than personal will. When one stops forcing outcomes and begins cooperating with divine order, anxiety falls away. Confidence is born when you realize you are not managing life alone. You are supported by an intelligence that never fails and never errs. This confidence expresses itself as authority without aggression, certainty without rigidity, and strength without strain. It does not shout, it resonates. Others feel it because it is real. People trust it because it is grounded. Opportunities respond to it because it carries no contradiction within itself. You will know when confidence is earned because it will remain even when outer conditions are uncertain. It will not collapse under criticism or inflate under praise. It will not leave you in moments of silence or solitude. It will stand with you when no one else does, because it is rooted in truth, not approval. When challenges arise, earned confidence does not ask, "Why is this happening to me?" It asks, "What is this teaching me?" It understands that every situation is an invitation to deepen alignment. Confidence grows not by avoiding difficulty, but by meeting it with understanding. Remember this: you cannot convince the subconscious of a lie. It responds only to truth demonstrated. When you live what you affirm, when your actions agree with your words, when your inner attitude matches your outer declaration, confidence becomes natural. There is no inner argument, no secret doubt draining your power. Earned confidence is the reward of spiritual honesty. It comes when you stop pretending to trust and begin to trust through action. It comes when you stop demanding proof and begin supplying faith. It comes when you stop fearing failure and start honoring law. Stand then in quiet assurance. Do not rush, do not boast, do not compare. Tend your inner garden faithfully. Know the law, obey the law, trust the law. Confidence will rise within you as a natural fragrance, undeniable and unforced. And when it appears, the world will respond, not because you demanded recognition, but because truth always recognizes itself. True confidence is never manufactured by effort alone, nor is it summoned by imitation or appearance. It arises as a natural state of being when one understands and aligns with universal law. Confidence that is forced is unstable, for it depends upon constant reinforcement from the outer world. Confidence that is earned stands quietly within, needing no approval, no applause, no reassurance. It is the result of harmony between thought, belief, and action, and when this harmony is present, confidence cannot be withheld. Many attempt to claim confidence by speaking affirmations without understanding the principle behind them. Words spoken without alignment carry little power, for the subconscious mind recognizes contradiction immediately. When words declare strength, but actions reveal fear, the inner self remains unconvinced. Universal law responds not to what is said, but to what is known. Knowing is established through understanding, and understanding is proven through obedience to principle. The universe operates through order, not chance. When a person aligns thought with truth, emotion with faith, and action with integrity, confidence forms as a byproduct. It is not pursued, it is revealed. Just as light fills a room when darkness is removed, confidence fills the mind when doubt is displaced by understanding. Doubt is not defeated by effort but dissolved by knowledge. A person who understands law no longer reacts emotionally to appearances. They know that conditions are temporary expressions of inner states, not fixed realities. This knowing creates inner stability. When the mind rests in stability, confidence becomes permanent rather than situational. It does not rise with success, nor fall with delay. It remains because it is anchored in principle rather than outcome. Earned confidence grows from consistency. Each time one applies truth instead of fear, confidence deepens. Each time one chooses faith over reaction, the inner foundation strengthens. Confidence is cumulative. It remembers every instance where trust replaced anxiety and produced harmony. The subconscious records these victories, and from them arises a calm assurance that no outer circumstance can easily disturb. Understanding universal law removes the illusion of personal struggle. One realizes they are not battling life, but cooperating with it. This realization removes strain, and where strain disappears, confidence enters. There is no need to force direction when one understands that right action naturally leads to right results. The individual becomes receptive instead of resistant, attentive instead of anxious. Confidence that comes from alignment is gentle yet powerful. It does not dominate situations, it steadies them. It does not push against others, it stands firm within itself. This confidence influences without effort, because it carries no inner conflict. Others sense its authenticity and respond to it without explanation. Fear fades when law is understood. Fear is born of uncertainty, and uncertainty is born of ignorance. When one knows that supply, guidance, protection, and opportunity are governed by intelligence rather than chance, fear loses its authority. Confidence takes its place naturally, not as bravado, but as peace. Peace is confidence at rest. Alignment with universal law requires discipline of thought. The mind must be trained to return to truth when appearances suggest otherwise. This training is not harsh, but persistent. Each return strengthens confidence. Over time, the mind no longer wanders as easily into fear. It remembers truth instinctively. Confidence becomes the default state. There is no confidence without integrity. When actions contradict inner knowing, confidence weakens. The soul cannot stand firmly upon divided ground. Alignment restores unity, and unity restores power. When thought, word, and action agree, confidence flows freely. There is no inner argument to drain energy or create hesitation. The person aligned with law does not compare themselves to others. Comparison arises from insecurity, and insecurity cannot coexist with understanding. Each individual expression is unique and necessary. Knowing this frees the mind from rivalry and doubt. Confidence grows when one honors their own path without measuring it against another's. Confidence earned through alignment does not resist correction. It is flexible without being weak. It listens without surrendering truth. It adjusts without losing direction. This adaptability comes from trust in intelligence greater than personal opinion. When on trusts guidance, there is no fear in refinement or change. Impatience dissolves as understanding increases. Confidence does not demand immediate results, for it trusts the process. It knows that preparation precedes manifestation. It allows growth to occur unseen. This patience strengthens confidence further, as waiting becomes restful rather than stressful. Alignment also brings clarity. Confusion cannot persist where law is understood. Decisions become simpler because they are measured against principle rather than emotion. Clarity eliminates hesitation, and hesitation is the enemy of confidence. When the mind knows why it acts without fear. Earned confidence is not loud. It does not announce itself. It speaks when necessary and remains silent when silence serves truth. It does not defend itself unnecessarily, for it knows defense implies doubt. It trusts its foundation completely. The individual aligned with law does not fear mistakes. They understand that correction is part of unfolding wisdom. Confidence is not the absence of error, but the absence of fear about error. Knowing that guidance continues even when adjustment is needed creates inner safety. When universal law is understood, responsibility replaces blame. One no longer accuses circumstances, people, or fate. This responsibility empowers rather than burdens. Confidence grows when one realizes they are not a victim of conditions, but a participant in creation. Faith becomes practical through alignment. It is no longer abstract belief, but lived experience. Each demonstration reinforces confidence. Faith proven becomes certainty. Certainty expressed becomes confidence. The mind aligned with law expects good without anxiety. Expectation without strain is the signature of earned confidence. It anticipates harmony while remaining calm. It prepares without panic. It trusts without tension. Of our time, confidence becomes identity rather than effort. It is not something one puts on for occasions, but something one lives from moment to moment. It shapes posture, speech, decisions, and reactions without conscious control. True confidence never competes. It attracts. It never chases. It allows. It never fears lack. It knows supply is governed by principle and therefore unlimited. The understanding of universal law replaces personal will with intelligent cooperation. This cooperation removes resistance, and resistance is the root of insecurity. When resistance ends, confidence flows naturally. Confidence earned through alignment cannot be taken away. It is not dependent on recognition, success, or approval. It remains intact through silence, delay, and change because it is rooted in understanding rather than appearance. The more deeply one aligns, the quieter the confidence becomes. Noise fades, urgency dissolves, and assurance remains. The individual moves forward without strain, speaks without doubt, waits without fear, acts without hesitation, trusting law to fulfill itself through every aligned thought and action. Earned confidence is not an emotional surge that appears in moments of excitement and disappears in moments of challenge. It is built slowly, deliberately, and faithfully through repeated right action. Each choice made in alignment with principle strengthens it, and each act of trust deepens its roots. Confidence becomes stable not because circumstances are favorable, but because faith has been practiced until it is proven. Faith that is untested remains fragile. It exists as an idea rather than a foundation. When faith is exercised through action, it becomes substance. Every time a person acts in harmony with truth despite fear, confidence expands. Fear may appear, but it no longer governs decisions. Right action in the presence of fear is the T. Reigning ground of confidence. The soul learns through repetition. One act of courage may inspire, but consistent courage transforms. Each time you choose integrity over convenience, patience over reaction, trust over control, you reinforce the inner structure upon which confidence rests. These choices are often small and unseen, yet they carry immense power. Confidence is not built through grand gestures alone, but through daily obedience to principle. Universal law responds to movement, not intention alone. Faith that remains passive does not mature. When you step forward guided by understanding rather than certainty of outcome, you invite experience to confirm truth. Each confirmation strengthens confidence. Over time, the mind no longer questions whether faith works. It remembers that it always has. Trust in divine order removes desperation from effort. When a person believes outcomes depend entirely on personal force, anxiety dominates. When they trust that order governs results, effort becomes peaceful. This peace feeds confidence. One works diligently yet rests inwardly, knowing that unseen forces are arranging details beyond personal reach. Repeated right action creates inner reliability. You begin to trust yourself because you have witnessed your own alignment. You know that when confusion arises, you return to truth. When fear appears, you respond with faith. This self-trust is not ego, it is spiritual reliability. Confidence grows when you know you will not abandon principle under pressure. Faith matures when it is exercised in uncertainty. Acting only when outcomes are guaranteed builds no confidence. True growth occurs when you move forward without full visibility, guided by inner knowing. Each step taken in trust expands inner territory. Confidence grows as familiarity with the unknown increases. Discipline of thought is essential to this process. Thoughts must be guided back to truth repeatedly. This is not suppression but redirection. Each time the mind is trained to choose faith over fear, confidence strengthens. The mind learns its own authority. Over time, fear loses credibility, and faith becomes habitual. Right action is the visible expression of inner belief. When belief and behavior align, there is no inner conflict. Conflict drains confidence. Alignment restores it. The individual no longer feels divided between what they say they believe and how they live. This unity creates inner peace, and peace is the ground of confidence. Trust in divine order also dissolves comparison. When you trust that your path is uniquely guided, you no longer measure progress against others. Comparison weakens confidence by shifting focus outward. Trust restores focus inward. You act according to guidance rather than expectation, and confidence grows from obedience rather than approval. Patience becomes natural when faith is practiced consistently. Impatience arises from doubt. As trust deepens, waiting no longer feels threatening. You know that timing is intelligent. This knowing removes strain and replaces it with calm expectancy. Confidence thrives in this atmosphere. Mistakes no longer undermine confidence when faith is active. They become information rather than condemnation. You trust correction as part of guidance. This trust allows movement without fear of failure. Confidence grows when you know that no experience is wasted, and no step is outside the reach of wisdom. Repeated alignment strengthens intuition. As trust increases, inner guidance becomes clearer. Decisions are made with less effort. Doubt diminishes because clarity increases. Confidence grows naturally when decisions are guided rather than forced. Faith practiced daily reshapes identity. You no longer see yourself as someone trying to believe, but as someone who lives by principle. This identity shift stabilizes confidence. It is no longer situational but continuous. Right action often requires restraint rather than effort. Choosing silence over reaction, forgiveness over resentment, trust over control builds confidence quietly. These choices are rarely celebrated, yet they form the backbone of inner strength. The accumulation of faithful actions creates momentum. Confidence becomes self-reinforcing. Past demonstrations inform present decisions. You remember how alignment resolved confusion, how trust dissolved fear. These memories anchor confidence during uncertainty. Trust in divine order removes the need to manipulate outcomes. Manipulation arises from fear. When fear dissolves, honesty replaces strategy. Authentic action strengthens confidence because it removes inner contradiction. Consistency transforms belief into knowing. Knowing eliminates anxiety. Anxiety cannot coexist with earned confidence. The mind rests because it recognizes a reliable foundation beneath it. Faith expressed through action reveals unseen support. Assistance appears at the moment of need, not before. Each experience of support reinforces confidence. You learn that you are not alone in effort. This partnership with intelligence greater than self removes isolation and fear. Right action aligns timing with readiness. What arrives does so when consciousness is prepared. Confidence grows as you recognize this pattern. Delays are no longer interpreted as denial but as preparation. As confidence deepens, reactions soften. External events lose power to disturb inner balance. You respond rather than react. This emotional stability is a direct result of practiced faith. Earned confidence carries humility. It does not claim personal credit for outcomes. It recognizes cooperation with law. This humility stabilizes confidence, preventing it from collapsing into pride. Faith practiced through difficulty becomes unshakable. Ease alone cannot build confidence. Challenge reveals depth. Each challenge met with trust strengthens inner certainty. Over time, confidence becomes a quiet presence rather than a conscious effort. It accompanies you naturally, informing decisions, speech, and movement. It does not fluctuate with success or failure because it is rooted in faith proven through action. Trust in divine order allows life to unfold without resistance. Resistance is replaced by cooperation. Cooperation removes strain. Where strain ends, quiet assurance is not something that appears suddenly in moments of ease. It is revealed most clearly when circumstances are uncertain. It is the confidence that does not depend on visible proof, favorable opinions, or immediate results. This assurance is rooted in proven truth, not in shifting appearances, and because of this, it remains steady when outer conditions fluctuate. Most people feel confident only when life confirms their expectations. When conditions align, confidence rises. When conditions resist, confidence collapses. This is not true assurance but emotional dependence. Quiet assurance is different. It does not ask circumstances for permission to exist. It stands independently of success or delay, praise or criticism, certainty or ambiguity. When confidence is rooted in external validation, it is fragile. Approval can be withdrawn, opportunities can change, and plans can dissolve. But confidence rooted in proven truth does not require reinforcement. It has already been tested inwardly and confirmed through experience. It knows what it knows, and it remains unmoved by temporary contradictions. Proven truth is established through demonstration. When a person has repeatedly relied upon principle and witnessed its reliability, assurance forms natural. Thus, assurance does not argue with appearances. It does not deny them, but it refuses to be governed by them. It understands that appearances are effects, not causes, and therefore subject to change. Quiet assurance expresses itself as calm under pressure. It does not rush to explain, justify, or defend. There is no urgency in it, because urgency implies fear. It allows silence without discomfort and delay without anxiety. It trusts that what is real does not need to be forced into expression. This steadiness is often misunderstood. Some mistake it for indifference, others for passivity. In truth, it is strength refined. It is the confidence that acts when action is required and waits when waiting is wise. It does not confuse motion with progress or stillness with stagnation. When assurance is rooted in truth, reactions soften. External disruptions lose their power to disturb inner balance. Criticism is received without collapse, and praise is accepted without inflation. Emotional extremes dissolve because identity is no longer attached to outcomes. This confidence does not depend on control. It understands that control is an illusion born of fear. Instead, it relies on alignment. Alignment creates flow, and flow removes strain. Where strain disappears, quiet assurance remains. One of the greatest signs of this assurance is the ability to remain present. The mind no longer races ahead to anticipate problems or clings to the past seeking justification. It rests in the moment, aware and receptive. Presence strengthens confidence because it eliminates imagined threats. Proven truth creates inner authority. This authority does not dominate others, nor does it seek agreement. It simply stands. Decisions are made without second guessing, not because outcomes are guaranteed, but because guidance is trusted. Trust replaces anxiety. When circumstances challenge expectations, quiet assurance does not collapse into doubt. It adjusts perspective rather than abandoning faith. It asks what is unfolding rather than why something failed. This openness allows wisdom to emerge where resistance would have blocked it. People rooted in quiet assurance do not feel compelled to prove themselves. Proof-seeking arises from insecurity. When truth has been proven inwardly, external validation loses importance. Action becomes sincere rather than strategic. This steadiness also transforms relationships. Interactions become less reactive and more grounded. One listens without defensiveness and speaks without aggression. Boundaries are held without hostility. Confidence rooted in truth does not fear disagreement. Fear thrives on uncertainty, but quiet assurance is comfortable with not knowing details. It trusts direction without demanding full disclosure. This trust creates freedom. Freedom strengthens confidence because it removes the pressure to predict or control outcomes. When challenges arise, quiet assurance does not interpret them as signs of failure. It recognizes them as part of refinement. Growth is not resisted, it is welcomed. This acceptance prevents discouragement and sustains confidence through transition. Time does not threaten this assurance. Delays do not weaken it. Silence does not unsettle it. It understands that timing is intelligent and that preparation often occurs unseen. Waiting becomes an act of trust rather than endurance. Because this confidence is inwardly anchored, it does not fluctuate with emotion. Emotions may pass through, but they do not rule. Sadness does not erase confidence, and excitement does not exaggerate it. Balance remains. Quiet assurance also removes the need for comparison. When truth is personal and proven, comparison becomes irrelevant. Each path unfolds according to its own rhythm. Confidence, lengthens when one honors their own unfolding without measuring it against another's. There is great power in this kind of confidence. It attracts cooperation rather than resistance. Others sense its authenticity and respond naturally. Opportunities align without manipulation. Influence flows without effort. This assurance does not reject logic, but it is not confined by it. It allows intuition to guide reason. When inner knowing and outer action align, confidence deepens further. Setbacks do not dismantle this confidence because it is not built on momentum alone. Even when progress appears to pause, assurance remains intact. It understands that movement can be internal before it becomes visible. Quiet assurance does not dramatize struggle. It acknowledges difficulty without magnifying it. It focuses on solution rather than problem, alignment rather than reaction. This focus preserves energy and clarity. The individual rooted in proven truth does not fear solitude. Silence becomes supportive rather than threatening. In quiet moments, confidence strengthens because it is no longer distracted by noise. When decisions must be made without guarantees, quiet assurance guides action. There is no paralysis. One moves forward calmly, adjusting as guidance unfolds. Confidence lives in motion without tension. This confidence is not shaken by contradiction. It does not require agreement to remain intact. It listens, discerns, and chooses without resentment. Truth does not feel threatened by differing opinions because it is rooted in experience rather than theory. This assurance carries depth. It is not easily impressed nor easily discouraged. It recognizes substance beneath surface. Quiet assurance grows stronger with each demonstration. Each time truth proves reliable, confidence settles deeper. Over time, it becomes the natural atmosphere of thought. It does not announce itself. It does not seek recognition. It is felt rather than declared. Its presence stabilizes situations without explanation. When outer structures change, quiet assurance remains unchanged. Roles shift, plans evolve, environments transform, yet inner stability holds. This stability allows adaptation without fear. Confidence rooted in proven truth is resilient. It bends without breaking, adjusts without losing center, and continues forward without urgency. It stands calmly while circumstances rearrange themselves around it. This assurance does not depend on certainty of form, only certainty of principle. Forms may change, paths may redirect, timelines may shift, but truth remains reliable. In this state, life is met with openness rather than defense. Challenges are met with curiosity rather than resistance. Confidence becomes an inner companion rather than a performance. The deeper the assurance, the quieter it becomes. Noise fades, tension dissolves, and trust remains active beneath every action and every pause. Steady, grounded, and unwavering in the midst of all conditioned incidents, stands firm, steady, and calm within every circumstance.